We've all been there. We have a show coming up, we're excited about it, we're prepped for it, and then we come down with a cold. So how do you prep your voice in a situation like this? In this video, I will show you 3 of my favorite exercises to do just that. Stay tuned. Hi vocal friend, Elizabeth Loninger here. I cannot remember how many times I have had a show coming up or I have been on the road where I got sick, I came down with a cold, and I had to perform that night. And you can possibly hear that I have a cold right now, so I was thinking this might be the perfect moment to actually talk to you guys about a scenario like that, where you have that show coming up and you really want to, and you also kind of have to perform. We can't always cancel a show just because we have a cold. Now, I want to throw out a word of caution here. If you have actual laryngitis, like if you're really croaky when you're speaking, you might really be better off canceling the show. It's just not worth ruining a voice over it. That would be the first assessment, like, do my vocal folds actually close? And one of the ways to do that is, for instance, in the morning in the shower, when you're in a steamed up room and you just do some gentle sirens, like, like thin folds, and see if your folds close. And if they do not close, I would really not try to do a show in that situation. That can just really get you in trouble. And again, it's not worth it. But if you have just a cold, which, sometimes is really bad enough for a vocalist because we just feel like our entire inside is filled with water and with mucus, and like the ums and ns all sound awful every time I'm singing those consonants and I hear them in the monitor. I just want to run away. But those we cannot fix. The ums and ns will just sound clogged up if you have a stuffy nose and if your nasal mucosa is also swollen. So what can you do first thing in the morning after you've taken your shower, hopefully steamed up the bathroom a little bit and done a little bit of sirening just to check in? I like to use either this personal inhaler, that's a steam inhaler, and what you do is you put a little bit of water in and it plugs in, and then you essentially inhale steam. So that's nice. And you also like breathe in through the nose if you can, breathe in through nose and mouth. I like to alternate between the two. And it really helps moisturize your entire vocal tract. That's the most direct way, kind of, that I know how to get moisture into your vocal folds and onto your vocal folds. So that's number 1. And this would be number 2. That's my other go-to. This is like a tiny little nebulizer. And you put some saline solution in there. Do not use water. You will break the nebulizer if you use water. And then you can inhale that. That's a cold saline mist. It's also very, very yummy, so I would suggest to use either one of those throughout the day. The great thing about the nebulizer is that you can use it in a car because you charge it beforehand because it has a USB charger. So that is something that you want to do ahead of time. Drink your tea. I got my ginger tea with honey. It's very nice. Definitely needed today. And then it's also helpful to do some light stretches, either like if you do yoga, do some really easy yoga stuff, like not the heavy lifting stuff where you do inversions and handstands and headstands, but just something that really helps you create a little bit of space inside your body, because when we are sick, we tend to kind of shrink in on ourselves a little bit. So just open everything up a little bit with some stretches of your preference. But now let's get into the exercises that I actually do. And one more thing, there are times when you just really don't want to do any exercises. Like if you're maybe also really fatigued on top of having a cold, then maybe all you should do is blow some bubbles or gargle. Gargle with salt water and use a little bit of sound to siren with that. I'm not going to show you that because that's a bit weird. But basically you put some water in and you just gargle and siren. And maybe that's all you can do. And if that's the case, if your voice just feels like you're on the verge of losing it, but you haven't lost it yet, maybe just save most of it for the show and do just as little as possible. I really love warming up. It just helps me check in with my voice and helps me figure out, okay, what does my voice need today? What do I need today to feel as comfortable as possible in these circumstances? So my first go-to is the Luxvox. So I like to start with this, and I actually even do that when I'm on the road and when I'm singing every day. I start my warm-up with this. I do about 5 minutes of that. You want to start super, super easy, like maybe just single notes, and start by just blowing bubbles and then let the note come in and let it come back out, like this. If you want to check out more about how to work your voice with the straw, just head on over to Kate Baker's channel, The Voice Whisperer, and she has a whole video on just that. So what I want to do now is I'm going to do a couple more single notes, just demonstrate with you. Let's go up a little bit. And as you can see, I have the straw in there by about 1 inch, and you want to make sure that this feels really, really easy. This is really kind of getting the folds to vibrate and getting them to vibrate a bit more deeply but comfortably. And it also helps you regulate your breath support. And if this is too hard, then you may just from the beginning start to tighten a little bit here, and you just want to really avoid that. This is the very beginning, super, super easy. Let's do a couple more. And again, I'm starting with bubbles, bringing in the sound, and then out into bubbles again without sound. Let's do that here. A couple more. So this should feel super, super easy, gentle, a nice way of getting your folds to vibrate. I have done a whole video on warming up with the Luxvox, and you can check it out here. So this is just the beginning. You can then also move around up and down a little bit with different intervals and so on. But I think it's also really, really good to do a lot of work from the top down, like always going down, because that really will keep you from pulling up too much weight too early in your session. So it's kind of, again, thinning out the folds a little bit, because when we have a cold, especially when we have postnasal drip, there is all that mucus dripping down on your folds, and it just irritates the folds, makes them swell a little bit, and then there's much, much more gunk. So this just really helps us stretch the folds a little bit so that they can close more easily. After the bubbles, what I really like is the Cupertos. Sometimes I have done only Cupertos, 20 minutes of Cupertos, and that's it. And so what is a Cuperto? Cuperto is like a closed, very, very small ooh. And so I want you to watch out for, number one, making sure that you have space inside, that it's not just ooh. We need more space. We need to open up your resonators, basically open up your oral cavity and a little bit into the pharyngeal. And you glide down in a comfortable range. Whatever is comfortable for you. I like to start like on the bottom end of my first passaggio, around here, maybe E, and I'll be gliding. Super quiet, very, very small, right? And let's go down first. Right? So they're quiet, and you want to glide. So it's a siren down. So again, you're stretching your folds a little bit. You're keeping them connected. And now we're going back up. again, keep it small. It's like a tiny, tiny, as if you have a tiny straw in your mouth. One thing that also really helps me, like especially when I feel like my voice is not coming in, sometimes when we have a cold, we start to speak more from the throat, and we're not really high enough in our placement. We're not really high enough with our resonators. And what I mean by that is like when you talk and you talk kind of from here and there's a lot of effort from here. I mean that that in itself just makes my throat tickle. But you want to really be up and over, always up and over. So I like to use the idea or the image of breathing in with a mixture of a sneeze and a yawn. I call it the snon. So we're going to breathe in with a snon. And this is just the setup, just the beginning, the very beginning of a sneeze or a yawn. You're not going to yawn and you're not going to sneeze because that's going to be counterproductive. Just the idea, and you immediately feel everything go up, right? Everything just moves up. Ooh, and it's just easier. That wasn't very good, so let's do it again. Ooh, right? So you have control. And you're not pressing down, you're not leaning on the voice so hard. So let's go up a little bit higher. Breathe in with the snon. Right? So as you go up, you may have to open it up a little bit more. Like just open the tiny mouth opening a hair more. Don't get louder though. So keep it at the easy volume. It's just you want to have a little bit more space, especially when you're a little bit under the weather. Let's try one more, see if it comes out. So ideally, you do want to go past your upper passaggio, but if that doesn't happen, it's still very, very beneficial. And again, like I've said before, sometimes this is all I do. And I do 15, 20 minutes of that, super, super gentle. And it really, really helps me set up my voice just to like have the blood flow going in there, have the stretch happening. So the great thing about the copertos is that they are also part of the semi-occluded vocal tract family. So these are exercises that specifically work with semi-occluded, meaning when your mouth is partially closed. You can read up all about the theory behind these and the benefit of these exercises on the internet. There's tons of information there. But needless to say, they are really, really beneficial and they're kind of therapeutical for your voice. So sometimes it's just enough to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes of copertos and then just sing, okay? Now, there's one more exercise that I want to introduce to you, and now we're going to go into more of a vowel and widening a little bit on the inside. Again, widening your soft palate. This is an exercise that I learned from my wonderful colleague, Jeff Alani Stanfield, and so I'm going to show that one to you today. And what you do is you start with, again, semi-occluded folds. And it also, again, helps you regulate your breath support. Ooh, right? This one is the first one in that collection of 3 exercises where we're actually going up and then coming back down. So let's start a bit higher here. And you go up on so it's right? Not as in victory. And you go up and then open it up into an E. Like you're almost, stretching into your cheeks a little bit. And it goes like this. So So you can hear there's a lot of gunk on my voice. Full disclosure, I also haven't sung a peep yet today, but also because, I wanted kind of to show you what my voice sounds like when it's messy and what I do to make it better. So let's go down a couple and then we're going to go back up. Again, breathe in with the snon. Let's go back up. Really, really allow your voice to find its way. Don't push it, don't be impatient. Give it time. And so on, and then you can take it back down, maybe take it a little bit further if you feel good about it. And then I am adding a little variation to this one, going into the rest of the 5 clear Italian vowels, I, E, A, O, U, just to warm up your voice a little bit more, to warm up your vowels a little bit more, because as you know, the vocal sound is transported by the vowels and not by the consonants. Having open and clear vowels is super important. So adding this to this exercise, we're going to keep going up on V, and then on the way down, we're going to go. Now, don't forget the snon. Breathing in with your snon, sneeze and yawn, set up, not the actual yawn or sneeze. Okay? Here we go. What also helps me sometimes when I'm feeling as gunky as I am right now is this idea of inhaling the voice. That's a bel canto or Italian principle called inhalare la voce. And it's kind of this, I'm breathing in while I'm singing. Doesn't mean I'm holding the breath. It's just, it really, the feeling of it kind of opens everything up a little bit more. And so on. Go past this, go a little bit further down. Just really gently, gently work your voice, expand it outwards into the outer parts of your range as much as is comfortable. Super important. Never, never push it. And really kind of ask, okay, what is it that the voice can do today? What is it that the voice wants to do today? Sometimes I almost treat it like it's an extra person that lives inside of me. And just as a final bonus tip, here's one thing that I sometimes like to do just to get myself into the mindset of the gig. I will take the first song that I'm going to be singing that night, and I'm just going to go through the melody or go over the melody on the coperto. Or even at this point, I feel okay with lip trills. Sometimes the lip trills just really don't work for me when I have a cold. So that's why it's easier for me to do copertos and woos, that kind of thing. But at that point, after like 15-20 minutes, I think you can bring in the lip trills as well. And just run, maybe not the whole song, run the first few bars in the correct key and just get into the mindset and realize, the voice is there. Maybe you'll have to take it a little bit lighter than you normally would want to do. Maybe you want to ask if there's a sound person, and if you're singing through a sound system, ask that the monitor be pulled up a little bit so you feel comfortable and you are not so tempted to push. So all of these are considerations. And sometimes If possible, it may also just be okay to drop the keys of the songs that you're doing. Always depends on the situation, of course, and on who you are working with and who your fellow musicians are going to be. I hope these tips and tricks are helpful to you. They come from decades of touring and decades of performing and also teaching. Finally, I would like to encourage you to head on over to www.vocalmusician.org, and there you'll find some free courses that you can enroll with, some mini courses, and there you can also get a copy of my book, Singer Survival Guide to Touring, as well as other courses on improvisation, blues improvisation. We also have a course on vocal musicianship there and how to improvise over a jazz standard and many, many more things. So check those out. And if you would like to book a private lesson with me, I will leave the contact information below this video, and you can also find more information about that over at vocalmusician.org. Thanks again for tuning in and for checking out this video. Hope to see you next time. Please hit the subscribe button and please recommend this channel to anybody who would benefit from this. And see you next time. Happy practicing.